Hello, you glorious singers and friends. Great to be with you once again for our monthly live chat. And obviously, I'm not in the studio today. I'm in my home studio, and that's why you get to meet my kitten here. This is Boston. He's only 14 weeks old, and he is loving his life. And so he's going to be hanging out with us today and hopefully not causing too much mischief as we do our chat together. Boston, you have to say hi. So there he is. You got to see him, and off he goes. So marvelous to be with you, good people. As always, it's such a joy, blessing really to spend some Sunday time with you, answering your questions each month, and see a lot of the usual crew here, which is always great to have that same community. And before we start, just wishing everybody health, happiness, hopefulness in this time. Wishing that you are seeing some opportunity for inspiration, for creativity, for growth, and we're getting through this together. On the other side of everything is something I believe quite beautiful. For all of us. So let's get through it together and stay encouraged, all right? And singing is one of the best ways to get through times like this, and I know you're all doing just that. So let's get to the questions here. We have the first question is from G7 Alt, which we love that, right? It's one of those bad boys. G7 Alt, okay? Now, hi, Justin. I have a friend whose tongue, as a habit, falls back. Falls back, especially on his low notes around B2 and G2. His timbre changes drastically when this happens. What's happening when the tongue falls back, and what should he focus on to fix this habit? Now, really common habit. It can happen on the low notes, but actually happens to a lot of people just in general. Middle notes, high notes, doesn't matter. I think there's an episode on this that we did, might be episode 33, an old school one, called tongue retraction. That's what that is, G7. That's this kind of thing here. We hear certain characters, like if you remember NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, or have a little bit of a tongue retraction. What it is simply the singer trying to manipulate their larynx with the root of the tongue. Now, I might not know that's what they're doing, but that's what's happening. The tongue is really close to the larynx. It's pretty much the part of it, in a sense. You've got your tongue, and then at the very root of it, that's where your larynx starts. So a lot of times, the tongue and larynx move together. You can separate them, but they like to move together. And so a singer that is pulling it back, they're trying to darken the voice, right? They're trying to add depth, darkness, lower larynx qualities to their sound. Now, you don't have to do that to get your larynx down, and you should not. So this person, probably down in the low part, is shoving their larynx down with their tongue. Tongue retraction isn't that hard of a problem to solve. You just basically have to really make sure that the tongue stays right here for everything that you sing. You should be touching the bottom gums or the sort of the bottom teeth there in the front. So it's just being aware of that, maybe using the mirror to make sure. But if they're still having a problem, you can do a tongue retraction, a tongue extension. Ha, 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 that sort of thing, or sing on a very bright E vowel. E, E, okay? But it's just awareness of why is going to be the easy solution. Okay, now, next, let's go to the next one. We have from Sanjeev Belhara. Sanjeev says, I would like to find out how you teach a new beginner to have a deep breath. Okay. I feel that when I try the actual air I manage to breathe feels small. Well, Sanjeev, that might not be such a bad thing, okay? Really good singing doesn't take big breaths. You might feel like you need a lot of air, but actually we do better with smaller amounts of air, okay? If you want to go ahead and try, take the biggest breath you possibly can, and it should look like this. The belly opens, the ribs open, and also the chest lifts. And then you're full to capacity. That's too much. Whether it's a beginner or a professional, we want the low abs and the side ribs to open. And then that's it. It's a very small breath. Sanjeev, either whether it's your student or yourself, you might be used to using more. And I would ask you actually to keep that small breath and see what you can do with it. Surprise yourself, challenge yourself. If a note you're used to taking a lot of air for and using a lot of air, go back, take a small amount, use a small amount, and see if you can retrain yourself or retrain your student to do everything that they do with a very small amount of air, okay? Very natural amount, not over breathing, okay? Very good. Next question comes from Kelly Higgum. Hey, Kelly. Hi, Justin. My friend is trying to do a rolled R by itself, but she has difficulty doing so without also doing a uvular trill. Yeah, one of those things in the back. We think she might have a larger than average uvula. Oh my. Do you have any advice? Wow, that is a really, really good question. You may be right that she just has a big uvula and it's getting involved there. Boy, I guess the thing is, you might have to try the raspberry trills first, okay? So if we're gonna need to put the tongue in different positions, Kelly, to experiment with this. You can kind of do the rolled R trill with the tongue like kind of in the back a little, sort of more in the front, or you can do it with a raspberry trill, which would be right here. All right. I'm not positive that would stop the uvula, but I think it's probably your best bet. So what are we doing there? We're rolling the front of the tongue here, and then we're rolling the front of the tongue here, and then we're putting the tongue out and rolling with the lips. So right there, right there, right there. Getting her in the habit, or him in the habit, of moving the tongue in different positions might just be the solution, because hopefully if you are trilling in different areas, if there's a way to stop the uvula, it will stop based on those various positions, okay? But if it's a large uvula that is just flapping all the time, don't know if we can fix it, but give that a try. Try the positioning of the tongue in various trilling spots and see if it goes away, okay? Now next. Yes, Vampire Roast, one of our good friends that we've seen many times. Hi, Justin. I hope you and your family are all right. Yes, we are, very much so. Thank you for asking, and to yours as well. This is my question. I've been using the solar plexus episode 52 and the Apojo episode 92 to help me with my singing. Using the solar plexus and at the same time using the diaphragm to control the air and keeping the diaphragm from collapsing, and of course keeping the ribs and lower abs expanded, all of this to avoid letting the air go. Oh wow, this is a very long question. Let me just make sure I get to the heart of it. Could you move it back to the screen for me? All right. Okay, so the question is, all the focus on the breathing is causing Vampire Roast to not remember lyrics and not focus on acting and not focus on expressiveness. Vampire Roast, breathing is not the most important thing in singing. And I know that we sometimes get that impression just from the world of voice and even just our instincts. Oh, I want to be a better singer. Well, I really got to focus on my breathing. In my experience, it's not really true. I know we talk about it. I've done episodes on it. But to be totally honest with you, when I teach, I very rarely say anything about the breath. Maybe in the average lesson, I might mention it once or twice, okay? And we're focused on a lot of other things much more. The register that we're using, the resonance that we're using, different stylistic gestures, and as you say, the meaning of the text, acting, musicality, things like this. Breathing is really just the power source, okay? We've got the power of our voice. We've got the vocal cord closure and registration, and then the resonance, which makes it sound the way we want it to sound. But it's really just like the gas pedal in your car. If you are driving your car and you're thinking about the gas pedal and looking down at the gas pedal and trying to control the gas pedal, you'll crash, all right? It ultimately needs to be a really very simple gesture. As I was saying in the first question, take a small amount in the right place, in a deep place, and then use a small amount as you sing. It sounds like you might have become a little bit obsessed with the breathing. No problem. I would ask you to kind of let it go a little bit now. Trust yourself. If you've done that work, if you've done the solar plexus work, if you've done the apojo work, it's time to let it go. Trust your breathing and really just forget about it, because that's actually the best breathing technique. Really advanced singers, I think, at a certain point, they're not even thinking about their breathing. It happens automatically. So see if you can get yourself to that point a little bit more now, where you let it become automatic, being invaded by kittens. All right. Now we're going to go to Eric. Eric, that's 2 times the Eric, double the Eric power. Hi, Justin. I love singing too much. I can't stop practicing, and now I'm always hoarse. How do you deal with this? I can't stop. Wow. Well, Eric, what a good problem to have, to love something this much. Unfortunately, you're right, Eric. Singing is not like playing the piano. If you love the piano, let's say there's people out there that practice, 8 hours a day, and they want to be a concert pianist, and they're practicing for hour after hour. Singing is much more like a sport, okay? And when you are going to the gym, you can't go to the gym for 5 hours. You start to actually get diminishing returns, right? Start to work, and then actually the muscles start to get exhausted and overworked, and then you work backwards. Singing is the same way. You have to, unfortunately, I know you want to just sing all day long, but you can't do it. Usually I would say the maximum is about 2 hours of practicing. Now that's a lot. You don't even need that much. But if you're passionately in love with singing, maybe you can do 2 hours. I would more recommend something like 40 minutes to an hour and a half at the most. Vocal growth happens from consistency more than time. In other words, if I practiced 5 hours one day and in the week, and then no other day, next week I practice 5 hours on one day and no other day, I won't get as fast. I won't get as good as fast as if I do 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 5 days, okay? It's much more important that you practice every day or 6 days a week rather than big sessions. So you'll have to do it for the good of your craft, Eric. That's what I'll say. If you love singing, you'll have to love it in the right way, all right? You have to love it in the way that is best for your voice, all right? And not just, I love it so much and end up wrecking everything. Find a practice plan that you can handle and know that truth about singing, that it's about small, consistent bursts and not about length, okay? I know you'll get there. Okay, next, let's go to Sammy Hampton. Hey, Justin. Sammy's been on many times. Good to see you. Can you shed any light on the subharmonic register? Is it worth learning, or is it more of a trick like whistle voice? Praying that you stay safe through this time. Thank you. Praying for all of you as well. In fact, later tonight, we'll be releasing a prayer video because we're not doing quick singing tips. But the subharmonic register. Okay, this is a very interesting topic. No, Sammy, it's not really worth working on in the sense like whistle voice is, you know, this crazy thing that goes sky high. Subharmonic register, I'm not really a master of it, but essentially we tune the true vocal cords with the false vocal cords. Oh boy. Wow. Yeah. Enough said. So we're tuning the true chords with the and if you mess with that, if you mess with your false chords and your true chords together, they can be tuned to some crazy sounding low notes that are below the voice. It's in the family of one of our rasp and distortion gestures. And why I say it's not really worth working on is you're not going to sing that in a song, right? And it doesn't really help your voice. So it's not really worth spending time on. Plus, some people, when they're working on distortion gestures, end up messing stuff up in there. Disregard unless for some reason you really are passionate about that topic. And in that sense, start experimenting with false vocal cord sorts of rasps and different pitches below your chest voice. Okay? Now let's go to Joanna, which I do think we've seen Joanna today. I've got a nutcase on my hands. Hey, you gotta stop. Joanna says, when doing the breath support exercise from Voice Lessons to the World Part 1, I find that I have trouble holding a steady Z as the pitch gets higher, about the same as where I'd need to go to head voice if I were vocalizing. Thoughts on that? How can I practice efficiently to get better? Okay. Oh, I just found out that we haven't heard from Joanna before. Well, then welcome to Joanna for your first time. Okay, so trouble holding a steady Z. I'm wondering, Joanna, if your Z is getting quivery, that sort of thing. If it's that, you're not alone. This is very common. One of the best reasons to use a Z kind of fricative or a V or a TH when we sing is it works kind of like singing through a straw or doing a trill. You've got to keep your breath pressure steady, okay? And so as we're going up there, and it's sort of spazzing, I have to maybe use less or use more. Find the exact right balance. So it might be as you are approaching head voice, you're using a different amount of air than before, or you haven't found the right amount of air for that transition into head voice. So use the Z, but don't just use a constant Z. See if you can try a more aggressive breath flow with the Z, and then a little bit more of a lighter breath flow until you find the one that is steady without quivering, okay? Give that a try. Now, Empress Psycho, I know we've seen Empress Psycho before. Hi, Justin, hope you're doing well. You too. My descending notes in the very bottom of my range tend to get swallowed and become too breathy. Also, sometimes the onset in my lower range is weak. Yeah. So this is a very common thing. Low notes do get breathy. The vocal cords are getting shorter and floppier, and then a lot of times breathier. My biggest advice to you is to brighten that area. You can use a higher larynx, you can use twang, and I do suggest with your onset problem, things like a glottal. All right, so how would that sound? That would be like the sound ah, ah, ah. Okay, it's not nasal, it's bright. Ah, I'm using twang, I'm raising my larynx a little bit. Ah, ah, okay? And you come down here where we usually have like and we go and use those qualities of a higher larynx, a brighter sound, and more closure. So do that exact exercise, Empress Psycho, just all the way down, and don't let it drop and get breathy. It's the reverse of what we do on high notes. As notes go up in pitch, we like to raise our larynx. It gets tight. You have to think about more of a dropped larynx to go higher. And as you go lower, it's the reverse. You have to think of a higher larynx and a brighter sound. Okay? All right, good stuff. And now Jake, who I also think we've seen many times. Jake says, I sing with a lot of power, but I notice sometimes I feel tightness and discomfort in the lower back. Can this be a sign that I'm using too much support? What advice would you give to get power through other means? Interesting. Well, Jake, the low back does have a bearing on singing. Okay, that's your quadratus lumborum muscles, and that is a breath support muscle. So if you're feeling like a tension there, yeah, you probably are shoving too much breath because we don't want to feel the low back get super tight. Something also strikes me, Jake, is it might be postural. Might be something with your posture. Make sure that you are keeping your knees bent. You can actually kind of like move through them, like pedal through them. Make sure that you are keeping your hips free. You can kind of move through your hips. And make sure that your low back is not overly curved when you stand, but also not straightened out. There should be a gentle curve in the low back. So check it out as far as posture is concerned. But then, yes, we do have that quadratus lumborum muscle where if you blow out really hard, you can try it even if you just do like a real solid, put your hands on your low back and do a really solid like F sound. You'll feel your low back get tight. So it sounds, Jake, like either it's posture or you are shoving out too much air. If you're shoving air, then I would recommend moving to more of a resonance situation, okay? See what happens if you play with your larynx position and see if you can find a little bit more space to accommodate the sound. As we get a roomier kind of voice, the resonance gets more complex. So you can feel like a little bit more depth to your larynx. And then make sure that your vocal cords are being very efficient, right? That we're not wasting any air with a breathy tone, but you have a really solid, crisp sound. If I, for example, Jake, drop my larynx a little bit and then add a solid set of vocal cords, you can hear that my voice is getting quite loud and full and rich. But am I pushing breath? No, not at all. What I'm doing is a little roominess and solid contact. So take away the need to push air for too much volume and replace it with a little size and a little chord closure. Should help a lot. All right. Now, let's see who's next. We've got Caleb. Hey, Justin, thanks for answering my question. about low notes last time, no problem. My brother has trouble with vibrato still. He's gone through your vocal course with me and your videos about vibrato, but he's still stuck around 3 hertz per second. Oh my. What should he do? I was able to get good and smooth vibrato by slowly moving back and forth between notes and then trying to speed it up to 6 hertz. Yeah, well, that's the right strategy, or at least a really good one. One that I recommend, okay? Moving notes, right? Until you can get a little bit more of a speed to it. I imagine that your brother might have problems with other things in the voice that is making the vibrato too slow. Some of these things might be the breathing, okay? Maybe like Jake or somebody else, he's pushing some air for things. That's making the voice more weighted down. Maybe your brother has not been able to do good agility throughout the voice. Having really fast and crisp agility a lot of times makes the vibrato happen. Maybe your brother hasn't blended the registers very smoothly. Maybe there's a thick chest and then it goes to falsetto. And there's not a lot of the mix coordinations that we need to have. Make sure that your brother doesn't get obsessed with vibrato itself, trying to solve vibrato just by doing vibrato. In other words, a lot of times by working the breath, working the agility, working smooth registers, vibrato gets better on its own. Okay, still do the vibrato exercises, but don't just use vibrato as a way to get vibrato. I will also suggest, Caleb, that you can use a metronome, and he can be speeding it up with a metronome. Sometimes going just that 1 notch faster each day is a good way to practice, because you feel like I can't move any faster than 3. But what if you just turn the metronome up a little bit and then a little bit more, a little bit more? Sometimes that can really help. Also, Caleb, check out to see, does his vibrato in falsetto work better than the vibrato in chest voice? They're slightly different mechanisms. So you might have him, woo, see how that's going. And then eventually, woo, transition it downwards. Can give all of these ideas a try, okay? Now, let's see what we've got next from a good friend. Oh, wait, Caleb says, by the way, your content has helped me very much. I've probably learned 90% of what I know from you, gained a much bigger range, better tone, and smooth vibrato. Well, appreciate that encouragement. That's what I'm here for. So when I can help somebody, it makes me very happy. So thanks for that, Caleb, and best is yet to come. Onward and upward you go. This cat is crazy. Hey, stop. Stop. All right. Let's move to Colin Joseph. Yes, our friend Colin. Colin, having you live is one of the best birthday presents for me. Happy birthday to Colin Joseph. Awesome. That's cool. Just wanted to ask you about timing for breathing when singing, because I see singers only take in a breath when they're about to make a sound. But for me, I do the opposite. I take a breath right away after a phrase and hold it until the next one. There might even be a big gap between them. Well, I don't know that you need to do that, Colin. If it's somehow helping you, I guess I don't see a reason maybe not to do it. It should be fine. But to me, it sounds like it might be uncomfortable to be holding your breath while there's nothing really happening. Now, there are definitely many singers that breathe too late, you know, and they sort of are like, sing, right? And so there should be a good preparation. You should feel whenever possible like you can, and off we go, all right? But I guess I wouldn't necessarily recommend taking the breath right after the phrase and then holding it, because you might experience discomfort or some unnecessary tension. I mean, holding the breath in the body isn't really usually a very comfortable feeling. So I'll say this, Colin, if it's working for you, it's not causing a problem, I've got nothing against it. But I think my ultimate recommendation would be to take that breath sort of a comfortable amount, saying before each phrase, all right? Not panicked, but also not holding. Hey, very good, and happy birthday. Next, Jiho Kim. Yes, Jiho, good to see you. Hi, Justin. My practice room will be closed for a while, and I'm mostly worried that my vocal fold muscles would weaken. Do vocal folds work the same way as the other body muscles or lose strength quickly? Good news for you, Jiho. Very good news. Singing is a sport for sure, but it's not a sport like lifting weights or running a race, okay? The thing about working out at the gym, for example, is if you want to get in really great shape, or you want to have everybody say, you know, wow, what have you been doing? You look fantastic. You could actually probably do it in 30 days, 60 days. Like, let's say you ate a perfect diet and you went to the gym 5 or 6 days a week and you worked really hard. In about 30 or 60 days, probably everybody say, whoa, what have you been doing? All right. So very short time frame and everybody notices. Singing doesn't usually happen like that. After 30 days of singing or 60 days, it's not enough time. It takes longer. Singing takes longer. But that's the bad news. Singing takes longer. The good news is singing also takes longer to lose. If you worked for, like, let's say 3 years on your voice, okay? And then you took 3 months off, it's not going to do anything. Not hardly anything. Everything you worked for those 3 years is going to be there. 3 months off, it's going to be there. But if you take 3 months off in the gym, it's not going to be there, okay? So working out, you get a fast result that also goes fast if you don't keep it. Singing takes a really long time to really master and perfect, but you keep it, you don't lose it. So Jiho, don't worry. The only thing is you should be, I hope you are talking, all right? You need to be like using your voice. If you go on a complete silence retreat or something like this for 2 weeks or a month, yeah, that could be a problem. But as long as you're talking, you're interacting, you're using your voice, you're not going to lose what you gained with your singing. In fact, Jiho, you might even feel even better from just having some rest for a little while. It can actually be a positive. It's my strong guess that that's what will happen to you. Okay? Hey, you're a nutcase. Oh, these claws in my leg. Kelsey says, thank you, Justin, and thank you to the person who's running the chat, which would be my lovely wife, Carolyn. She is doing such a great job helping me do this and also survive kitten attacks today. So thank you to her. Peter, you basically already talked about this. But he says, I'm an overthinker about breathing. I'm not sure I use deep enough inhales. Some tips. Yeah, Peter, I think we did talk about this one already, about deep enough breaths. Remember, it's where you breathe, not how much you breathe. Make sure that you're taking that apojo breath. What is that? That's a rib breath. And that's a low belly breath. You're not going to force anything, okay? It doesn't feel like jamming those areas open. It feels like allowing the air, okay? Just allow the air in. Many singers feel like they do nothing when they get the right inhale. And that might be good news to you and some of the others that have asked about this today. I mean, that's even what I feel. When I'm taking my good singing breath, I feel like it just happens. It's not a big conscious effort. It doesn't feel like taking a lot and expanding. It just is about taking it into the right place and allowing, okay? Think of this difference. To take breath versus to allow. Take versus allow. Don't take, allow. So if you just allow the breath to come in, you try that right now. That's it. That's enough. Okay, you don't need to take massive amounts, and your body should not feel tight when you do it. Okay? Let's see who's next. Now Dhiraj. Hi, Justin. Whenever I sing, I see my swallowing muscles coming down. Is it healthy in singing? Well, is it healthy? Not necessarily. It's not the best technique. It's something you'll want to work on. I don't want to be promoting fear because it's pretty darn hard to hurt your voice, okay? So a lot of folks are afraid if something goes wrong in their technique, they're going to hurt their voice. So Dhiraj, I don't want you to think you're going to get hurt from this. So I don't want to say that it's unhealthy. It's not your best technique, okay? So what are swallowing muscles? They are all the muscles right in here and in your pharynx. And obviously they push your larynx up so that food goes into the right place, all right? The biggest swallowing muscles we usually see happen right under here. These are jaw muscles, like you've got your geniohyoids, your mylohyoids, and your digastrics, and we see that kind of tension. And then when the larynx is pushed up kind of on the sides, you see like this kind of stuff. All right, those are all examples of swallowing muscles. What do we do to fix those swallowing muscles? Well, Dhiraj, several things. You need to make sure you're keeping a really free jaw when you sing, all right? So this position is really ideal. All right, you can do different vowels. And keep that nice freedom. Many of our swallowing muscles are jaw muscles. So if you just have a nice, not wide open, okay, just released jaw, practicing that is really, really good. The tongue also gets very involved in all of this. So we want to make sure that the tongue is not retracting like somebody asked before, all right, not retracting and not shoving down and not getting too tight. The NG sound, is really great for fixing that. So you can take that jaw and that NG tongue and do things like king, that promotes a lot of freedom. Then Dhiraj, the last thing I'll say is just make sure your larynx isn't coming up too high. Nothing wrong with a high larynx, okay? Can, really sing with a high larynx is okay, right? But not if it's getting to be a tight larynx where I have a high larynx, a lot of compression, a lot of volume. Here's a good rule of thumb for you all. High larynxes are built for quiet volumes. Okay. Low larynxes are built for loud volumes. If you are needing or wanting to get louder, you need to have some space to accommodate that volume. If you're getting softer, it is very much okay to raise up the larynx. That's how pop singers do it, with a microphone, very quiet volumes, and a higher larynx. Opera singers, for example, no microphone, low larynx, lots of volume. So make sure that you are not raising the larynx and getting loud. Okay. All right, let's move to the next question. We've got now a sleeping cat here. is a very unusual chat session, but of course the world is in a very unusual place. All right, now we've got Lucas Oliveira D'Antonio. Hello, Justin. Hello, Lucas. It's possible to be a bass singer and have an extension to tenor using chest voice, and have an extension to soprano using head voice and flageolet like Dimash. Yes, it is, okay? On that topic of volumes, this is how contemporary singers do it. When you don't have to be loud, you can coordinate each register. You can coordinate your chest voice, your mix, your falsetto, your flageolet, and even the lowest voices can sing some of the highest notes. I see this all the time. In a weird way, Lucas, a bass singer has an even higher chance of singing the highest notes than a tenor. Whoa, that's a mind-blowing thing. Why? Because the bass already has longer vocal cords, okay? When we are singing high notes, the vocal cords need to get longer, all right? The bass singer already has the longest vocal cords. Sopranos have short vocal cords, and basses have long vocal cords. So if they use their vocal cords in the right way, have the most capability for range. Not just the shortening and thickening, but the lengthening. And if you thin out long vocal cords just right, you can sing some of the highest notes. I've seen basses with incredible falsettos and flageolets all the time. In fact, a lot of times when I hear a low voice, I think, oh man, I can't wait to hear the flageolet up top. So the answer is yes, it is a matter of coordination, but a low bass can sing tenor sounding mixed notes and high falsetto and flageolet notes. The answer is yes. You just have to coordinate it over time. Okay, really good. All right, now let's go to Elby. Hey, Elby, welcome back. Hey, Justin, I'm doing your vocal course. Can you elaborate on what you mean by mixed voice exercises compared to the others? Does this mean I should be going over my break no matter how ugly it sounds? I'm in the beginner one. Oh, in the beginner one, there is mixed exercises, but they don't go above my break. It confuses me. Okay, let's talk about that, Elby. The mixed voice is a blend of chest voice and head voice. And that can be almost any blend, all right? So the mixed voice is not just one thing. It's several different things. How you know something is not a mix is if it just shouts and shouts and shouts and shouts and shouts, or it switches to the next register. Those things would be not mixed. One is just a push, and the other is just a switch. The mixed voices involve hanging on to some presence of chest while paring that down with elements of head. Elements like narrower embouchures, elements like nasal resonance, elements like volume control, not just blasting, okay? So a mixed voice doesn't have to go over your break in order to be a mix, okay? I'll just sing in my middle voice for a second. I could do ma, 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 ma. That's a lot of chest. Now, ma, 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 ma. What did I do? Did I go to falsetto? No. It was quieter, but I can still do it solid. Ma, 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 ma. It's got a little bit more of a mixed quality, right? I'm using some more head in that sound, all right? So, and I didn't go over my break at all. I'm right in my middle voice, right? So mixed voice is known, LB, to go across breaks, because if you don't have a good mix and you get to your break, you're either blasting or you're switching. But you don't have to go over your break for it to be a mix. In fact, you're in the beginner courses. Probably the reason that it doesn't go too high is it's nice to establish mixed qualities on notes that are in a comfortable range to set up that middle. And then when we go higher, then you can do it, okay? So just make sure you don't think of mix only for high notes. It's for all of your notes want mixed qualities. All right, let's move now to Sammy just says, thank you, Justin. Appreciate the clarity. Hope the book is coming out soon. Yes, we are working to get that book out. It's totally done, but getting it out into the world is definitely takes some steps. So we're following those steps. If you're interested in the book, you want to receive updates, you can go to singlikeneverbefore.com. That's singlikeneverbefore.com. And just put your email in there. We're not going to be sending you a bunch of emails. It's just, we haven't sent any emails. It's just so that you get, when we know the date and we know what the details are, you will receive, a message at that time. But we don't believe in, spamming people and stuff like that. All right. And Janet 2A Wilson says, Boston is adorable. What breed is he? I'm cuddling my ragdoll cat, Chalky. Oh man, hey Chalky. I don't have a question today, but I'm enjoying the discussion as ever. Well, thank you, Janet. That's very nice. We also have a ragdoll, and she's sleeping over there. If this guy wasn't out like a light, I would show you. Luna, but he's napping. He's a Maine Coon. And I lost my very close friend Manny Cooner. He was a really wonderful cat, Maine Coon. He passed a few months back, and we had already planned on getting Boston, but now here he is. But maybe Janet, I'll let you see Luna by the end if this guy can get back to his business. Okay, and Empress Psycho also says your answers were helpful. I'm so glad, Empress. Now let's move to Fulvia Orlando. Fulvia says, during belting, especially, what do we do with the ribs in terms of support? Nice. How do we keep them expanded? Do we stretch them or lock them? I've heard people call this concept anchoring. Okay, so anchoring is from the Estill method, the Estill technique, which is very popular mostly in Europe. And Estill has she was a pioneer. She helped us so much. The thing to remember about Estill, though, is that Joe Estill is no longer living. And so some of the research that she did, as revolutionary as it was and is, not all of it is up to date just because she can't continue her research. So the anchoring, squeeze in the armpit area, almost like you have like grapefruit there and you're trying to squeeze the fruit, okay? It is a form of resistance, all right? And when we sing, we want to resist the air from just blasting out. So it's a form of resistance, but it's not one that I personally recommend. As far as the ribs, Fulvia, we expand them when we inhale, and we want to keep them out a bit when we exhale. But you don't want to keep them forced out. You don't want to open as you sing. Let the rib cage come down gently, okay? It should feel very much like when we practice our hiss exercise. You can just do one with me. If you put a hand on your rib cage and you open it up, and then you hiss, what you should notice is that your ribs come down slowly. You could try to keep them up, open, but what that's going to cause is just tension and rigidity that is not necessary, okay? That's why I wouldn't be in favor of the anchoring. We don't want unneeded tension when we sing. Needed tension, yes, but not unneeded tension. You can have a very supported sound while still letting your ribs come down. So that's my advice to you, Fulvia, is let the ribs expand when you inhale, and then you're going to sing or you're going to belt, and they come down gently and gradually. They don't stay tight, and they don't shove down. Okay? Good question. And now, Patrick 2. Hi, Justin. May I know how you train the strength of vibrato when singing, and how to sing a belt and sing vibrato with strength? I found that I can only do vibrato when I'm very relaxed, and my vibrato isn't as loud as I want to be. Okay, awesome question, Patrick. Okay. Vibrato by its nature is a movement of pitch, okay, a rapid movement of pitch up and down, okay? It tends to be more of a lightening gesture than a strengthening gesture. Tends to vote for headier qualities, head mixier qualities. It lightens the instrument, it takes the pressure off. So I can see what you mean, Patrick, that when you go to your vibrato, you feel like it compromises your power. Here's what I'd have you do. This might solve it. Take a really powerful note, a note that you really feel like, okay, this is the power that I would want my vibrato to have, okay? And let's say it's just like, nay, 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 nay. And I feel really nay, 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 a lot of power in that pitch. Then hold the note straight tone, nay, with that power. And instead of letting it nay move to what it might tend towards, what if you do one of these? Okay, kind of weird stuff. Nay. Okay, where you keep the power, and then you get into more of a wobble, vocal wobble. Nay. Right, and purposefully wobble it. And then eventually, nay. And it gets into more of your vibrato sound. If you do that, Patrick, then you can sort of, and then when they go to vibrato, it changes to another production. It changes to a lighter recipe. What you'll have to do is take the strong recipe, move it up and down with pitch, wobble it, and then speed up that wobble until it becomes a strong vibrato. But don't just let it go straight, light vibrato. Take the steps of straight, up and down movement, wobbly movement, fast wobble, which is vibrato, and there you go. Okay, so you have to probably back up and kind of start from scratch to build some of that. Okay, really good stuff. Well, now that was all of the, everybody got one question, which we try very hard to do, and now we have a few minutes left, so we're gonna move to second questions, if that's okay. Yeah, you go do something else. And the second question is from Kelsey. Do you have an intuitive way to explain why harmonics appear on a spectrogram? Oh boy. I understand that the voice is a sum of sine waves, but it's still weird to me. An intuitive way to explain why harmonics appear. Boy, if I had that right off the top of my head, then be a millionaire. Everybody wants harmonics and resonance and formants to be simple, and yet it is so complex that it blows the mind. Well, Kelsey, let's just do a few things. You know the harmonic series is the series of integer multiples of the pitch that we are talking about, and not just in the voice, in all musical instruments. So if I have this C right here, its first harmonic is this, okay, and then the second, and then up into infinity. The reason for it is that the wave that is producing that sound starts to interact with the wave that repeats back when resonance happens. And so you have waves kind of like doubling themselves and then interacting with that and then interacting with each other and sort of becoming a more complex series of resonances, which is harmonics. So I guess the simplest way is that the waves of the fundamental interact with themselves in order to produce other waves which are higher. Okay, I hope that's a simple, intuitive way. I mean, if you guys don't know, this is probably nice for people to know. What Kelsey's talking about is, I'll show you. You can download an app, which I love, which is called Spectrum View. Spectrum View. See if I can get this going for you. Where did it go? Let me grab my iPad for you. Here we go. Okay, Spectrum View is a wonderful app. And what Kelsey's talking about, I highly recommend you guys play with this so you can start to understand harmonics. Okay, this is just monitoring the sounds in the room that it picks up. And so it's monitoring my voice. Now check out when I play that note I talked about. You see that there are all of these other sounds that are happening. Those are called harmonics. There's not just the note that's being played, but the way that that note, the sound wave interacts with itself to produce higher harmonics. Now, when we sing, I have it too. Let's do this right here. Ah, the note that I'm singing is way down here. But did you know I could sing like 100 notes at once? Well, I can, and so can you. You see all of these other frequencies. Those are harmonics. Now, with the singing voice, we have not just harmonics, but also different resonances. Check it out. See how my resonance changed? So which harmonics are brought out can be changed in the voice. When we are playing a musical instrument, you can't change how the harmonics are brought out usually. You just have the harmonics. With the voice, you can bring out different resonances. Okay? So I told you that wasn't easy to do, but hopefully that gives you some insights. Let's see. Well, I guess we probably should wrap up. Hate to leave you with physics. Kind of blows the mind, but I hope it helps. And I will just say, again, I'm so thankful for all of you people to join on a Sunday. And it's always so great to spend some time with you and go deeper into this world of the singing voice. And wishing all of you health and hopefulness. We're going to get through this. We're going to get to the other side. And I think we're going to see some really positive things come out of it. I know it's a dark time, but we're looking for the hope right now, and we're looking for the things to be thankful for. And so I just wish all of you those hopeful thoughts. And even amidst the darkness, I hope that some magic is coming to life for you. I hope that you're finding that in your singing. I hope you're finding that in your relationships. I hope you're finding that deep within. And I'm wishing it also. Brendan's live chat, Brendan Hodek, you all as members get a chat with me and Brendan each month. So we'll see you very soon. Be healthy, be well. Bye, folks. Oh, sorry, I promised Luna. Luna, say hi to your friend Chalky. Bye.